All right, everyone. Joe Biden finally compelled to have a sit down and think, a little hootenanny like one of his possum pals. Looks like the dude from Deliverance anyway, so, the inbred sort of joke definitely applies to him. Thinks he might be missing a few genes here and there. He's blaming his staffers now for the classified documents that were found at his home and at UPenn. And it looks like there's paperwork in Boston as well that's being looked through right now to make sure that nothing's classified there, although they're preemptively saying we don't expect it to be classified. How many goddamn boxes, by the way, of documents do you have here? Some of the items that were removed originally from Biden's home may in fact be more than single sheets of paper. I like it when people do the COPEAGANDA thing. They're like, well, Trump took so many more documents. We're not sure of that. Not all of Biden's property has been searched. He's claiming now that some of these papers were misfiled, originally mishandled by his staff as early as the 70s. These are early Senate era documents from Biden's career. These aren't anything recent. These are half a century old. If that is indeed the case, if his staff have been so routinely incompetent that they took stuff from the Senate era, they took stuff from the vice presidential era, probably the intermediate era after that, prior to the rise of the Biden stewardship, there could very well be a shit ton more documents. Here's the thing, though. There's a reason why Biden is blaming staff instead of saying, well, I declassified them. Because now as president, theoretically, he would have the authority to retroactively do so. But he's not making that claim. I'll tell you that there are two reasons why. Number one is to set up a differentiation between himself and evil Orange Man. That's number one, simply strategic. It's not legal ass covering, we'll get to that in a moment. It's strategic covering. He understands that the public is raising an eyebrow at the situation because he took a dump on Trump over and over for having classified documents in his home, and he had classified documents in his home as well. So he's not making the same claim as Trump. Trump said, well, I declassified all this shit. Okay, I'll return them to the archives. You've raided me and shit. I can't do anything about that. Oh, by the way, I had a laptop the other day that was submitted that has the same file work on it. Also an irrelevant nothing burger. There are some people making the logical assumption, illogical assumption rather, that means he distributed this material to other people. It indicates a crime. No, not if it's been declassified, because it's not classified. Who gives a fucking shit? It doesn't matter if he hands it off to North Korea at that point. Of course, that will be a tale for court. The other reason why Biden's not saying that and is simply saying, well, my staff are the ones that are responsible. Yes, I've hired incompetent staff since the 1970s, and they didn't look at the classified headers. It was just stray paperwork. That's literally what Biden refers to them as, stray papers. I had no idea that it was in there. Did anyone else? That could be a problem. You're not claiming you declassified him. The other reason is because he knows he'll face no repercussions. The DOJ is under the thumb of the Uniparty. The Uniparty has no problem with Joe Biden. If they were to go after him in any way, shape, or form, it would be just more evidence that they just want to shove him aside before 24 so they can get some fresh meat in there to be cannon fodder for whoever the GOP candidate is, because the economy is going to collapse. They would rather it be someone like DeSantis. They would rather it not be Donald Trump because they're afraid of him. They're not afraid of DeSantis, by the way. I've looked at enough information now. I'm starting to get a little bit of a hunch about that. I'm starting to get a little bit iffy on the DeSantis as driver for the ship of state. But we'll get past that for a moment because it's a sore issue for some people. Biden's blaming his fucking staff. His staff are responsible. I'm not responsible for the contents of my home. My staff take care of everything. You had documents from the 70s, so they were misfiled from your days in the Senate. You're trying to tell me that despite the fact that you lived in that house on and off, of course as a senator you traveled to and from D.C., as VP to and from D.C., but there was a period of time there for several years where you weren't in politics at all. You were mainly at your home or in Boston or occasionally D.C., of course, going to events. You're telling me that classified documents sat in a cardboard box for 50 years and you never knew they were there? You never once looked at them. You didn't wink and nod and say, oh, nobody's going to give a shit if I take this anyway, and say, put it in that box over there, I'll read it later. When are we going to find out what the content was? At least a rough readout of what the content pertains to. I know some of it's handwritten letters. By the way, the idea that an executive's handwritten notes should be classified, okay, fuck it. We should declass those unilaterally anyway. They shouldn't belong to the National Archives. They should belong to the person who wrote the note. You mean to say to me that if Donald Trump writes a Christmas card to someone, the other person on the other end is breaking some sort of law with regards to archival retention or something? That's a little bit out there. I think that the overclassification thing is a cope, mostly right now, coming from the leftoid side of the missing link media. But there are a few items on which I think that we can broadly agree they shouldn't be classified. Handwritten fucking notes. Who gives a fuck? A picture of Donald Trump shaking Kim Jong-un's hand. Apparently that was actually taken from the Mar-a-Lago along with a bunch of Time magazine covers. I don't think that those are classified. I think that those are only for stupid eyes because it's Time magazine and they've become an irrelevant joke over time. Now, your staff probably were the ones packing it up, but I'm sure that they saw the classified header and they ran it by you. Hey, Mr. Biden. Hey, Senator Biden. Yeah. You know those documents you want us to bring back to Rehoboth Beach there? One of them has a header on it. It says it's top secret. Fuck it. Just put it in there. That's basically what happened. And he's going to get away with it, by the way. People that are expecting some sort of indictment, they're good. The feds will get involved. Why would the DOJ decide to take out its puppet? Joe Biden is a steward. He is an empty suit and an empty head. So is Kamala. He's not calling any shots. He's just the figurehead. He's supposed to be the dopey old white grandpa, the unassuming, non-concerning, friendly neoliberal face, while the people behind the scenes, the banksters, big corporations, especially pharma, you'll know, military generals and contractors and shit, they're the ones running the show. And a bunch of globalist think tanks and craptivists. Those are the people currently running the United States, not Joe Biden. Why the hell would they get rid of him? Like, they want Kamala to be their puppet? Yes, that'll be great for PR when you're trying to push your agenda. Having Kamala there would be just absolutely stellar. It'd be wonderful. It totally wouldn't peeve a bunch of the hidden racism of the white liberals. By the way, if you've ever talked to the NPR mug sweater wearers, you get them loaded. Get them a little tequila. Say, don't worry, it's not cultural appropriation. It was made in Texas. Get them loaded and see what they do. Put on some rap music. Turn that shit off. I hate them people. That's what you'll get. I would know. I've done this before. But no, your staff are not responsible. It's not their property. You're blaming them for... Again, Biden is so incompetent that the staff that he hired didn't check for classified material, and they did this for the better part of a half a century. God damn, it strains incredulity to believe this particular story. But half the population will, because Orange Man bad. That's about all. Peace out.